we're going to take you back to that press conference involving the disappearance of Terrilynn St.
Let's listen in.
Sheriff's Office. I'm the major here with the Sheriff's Office. I'm here to give you guys an update on the Terrilynn St. case. For the second day and night in a row, detectives have worked into the early morning hours in reference to the case involving Terrilynn St. At approximately 9 o'clock this morning, detectives discovered a body in the Wake area of Middlesex County, unidentified at the time. At 9:30 this morning, Alvin B. Keyser, spelling is Keyser, was taken into custody. He's 23 years of age of Topping, Virginia. Detectives are still continuing to interview Keyser, and Keyser is currently awaiting more charges and going to be interviewed several more times probably today. At 11:35, the body of Terrilynn St. was positively identified approximately 20 feet off the road in a small patch of woods off of Barracks Mill Road. Detectives have now switched their gears in this case from a missing persons report of suspicious nature to a homicide. The Sheriff's Office would like to offer the condolences to the friends and family of Miss St. John. Obviously, this is still an ongoing investigation, and I will try to answer any questions that you may have, but just to understand it still is an ongoing investigation.
Can you speak to Mr. Keyser's relationship to Miss St. John's? Do they know each other? Do you have any details on that?
We do know that Mr. Keyser was an acquaintance. To what degree, we don't know. That's still one of those things that's still being investigated by our detectives.
What's he being charged with right now?
He's being charged. We have detectives that are conferring with Commonwealth Attorney at this time to figure out exact charges. The body of Miss St. John will be taken to the Chief Medical Examiner's office in Richmond, which is obviously part of the investigation to determine the charges.
Is he being held in relation to the body being found or disappearance? I guess what's kind of the connection there?
He's being charged in the body that we found of Miss St. John.
Do you know how she died?
We do not. That'll be Chief Medical Examiner's findings.
No visible injuries or?
We haven't determined that. This is very preliminary. The state police has called out their forensic unit, and they're continuing their investigation as of right now. Obviously, the weather is going to be hampering us a little bit in time, so if you guys could just be patient with us on that. So.
Can you speak at all to how the body was discovered this morning? How did you come about it off Barracks Mill Road?
Mr. Keyser showed us where it was at.
Is this investigation, how you say it's ongoing, is this kind of cut and dry, case closed, or are there other things?
No, there's other things that we need to look at. We need to run this thing all the way to the end. We're going to have to interview Mr. Keyser until we figure out everything that we need to figure out. And again, detectives have been on this guy, Mr. Keyser, for several hours.
Did Mr. Keyser come to you voluntarily, or was he questioned?
Mr. Keyser was initially contacted last night and then reached out again this morning to us after we interviewed him last night.
Is he one of the 4 original persons of interest?
No.
Well, when you found the body, I guess, could you describe for us what the scene was? You said it's 20 feet off the road.
That's a rough estimate. 20 feet off the road. It was in a patch of woods, covered up. There was an attempt to cover the body.
How do you spell his name again?
Keyser.
Is he the only one being interviewed at this time?
We're going to continue the investigation. There will be other persons interviewed as well. But right now, he's the person that we're talking with.
Has he admitted to doing anything, or?
We're still ongoing with the investigation. So.
Speaking with the St. John family today, when you broke this news to them, what was that like?
It was very difficult. The sheriff, who I'm going to introduce here in just a little bit, he spoke with the family in length yesterday. Has been in contact with the family today as well. They're obviously very upset. And again, as I said yesterday, it's really a tight-knit community. We all kind of feel this, so there'll be some healing time. And again, our prayers and condolences go to the family.
Are you able to tell us if Miss St. John's, the father of her children, lives in this area, or if he's around, or where he was during all these events?
To our knowledge, at this point in the investigation, he was not in that area, but he does live in the area. He does live close by.
Okay.
Roughly how far from the scene would you say the body was discovered?
As a crow flies, maybe 3/4 of a mile. Maybe 3/4 to a mile, roughly.
And I just want to make sure I have this right. It's Alvin, right?
Correct. Middle initial is
Yeah.
B as in Bravo.
Okay.
And we don't know how long the body was there where it was found this morning.
No, ma'am, we do not.
And Mr. Keyser lives currently in Topping.
That's correct. That is his address.
How old is he now?
23.
Have you guys had any run-ins with Mr. Keyser in the past that you can speak of or anything like that?
Mr. Keyser, no, nothing in particular. We know the family. Again, this is, here in Middlesex, kind of everybody knows everybody. So it's a big shock to a lot of people. So.
And what's next? When's the charges, other charges?
Well, it's ongoing as we speak. We've got detectives working on the case right now, again with the Commonwealth Attorney, and Mr. Keyser is still in custody at the Sheriff's Office.
And just again clarifying, the only charges that you're saying right now is that he's charged in
relationship to Miss St. John's body being found.
Okay, we don't know exactly what.
We're not 100% sure of the charges yet. Yes, ma'am.
What is his demeanor, Mr. Keyser's, throughout this? I mean, you said he's been contacting y'all. I mean, if you could just give us some...
He's been cooperative. Actually been fairly cooperative with us the whole time. So.
Does Mr. Keyser work in this area?
I'm not 100% sure what Mr. Keyser does for a living. So.
Can you speak at all to how you came about contacting him, or is that something that's not?
It was something that the detectives were doing. They followed through with numerous interviews throughout the day. Again, I know I touched on this yesterday. The social media, kind of a double-edged sword. This was the good side of the sword. So it was one of the good things that we looked at. Again, the department from the top to the bottom has been involved in this investigation, and there's been a little piece from everybody. I don't care if it's the sheriff, the chief deputy, myself, courtroom staff, SROs, you name it, everybody's kind of been involved. We've all come together as a family, worked well with the team, again, with the help from the Gloucester County Sheriff's Office, who are out here 2 days straight with their canine, and as well as the state police.
I know the family was organizing a search yesterday. Are they the ones that came upon the body, or was it one of you guys?
No, ma'am. The search was actually, I believe, scheduled, and I'll go off. You can double check me there on Facebook, but I believe it was set for 9:30, and we found the body prior to that.
You were just talking about social media. We weren't here today, so I apologize for making you repeat it, but the double-edged sword of social media, how does social media help in this?
Pictures of Mr. Keyser, just different talk, different chatter that our detectives were constantly, not only our detectives, but the entire department was kind of keeping up with. Somebody hears something, somebody make a phone call to a deputy that they knew because something that they did see on social media, and one thing would just kind of lead to another, and that's kind of where we ended up where we're at. So.
What was something that they saw on social media?
Mr. Keyser maybe making some statements, not on social media, but somebody posted what he had said on social media. So that was part of it,
And you said he was an acquaintance. He wasn't like a boyfriend or the...
Again, we don't know the extent of what their relationship was, just that they were acquaintances. So, if I could I bring the sheriff in? He's got a few words that he'd like to say, if you don't mind.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, thank you all very much. Sheriff?
I don't even know what time it is. It's been a long 3 days, folks. To reiterate what the major said, when he talks about social media, it's all you too. What you guys put out does help us. If we would have got to a point, we would have asked you to even help us even further. The situation, we had a lot of people, not just our sheriff's office, which we're very proud of. We had Portsmouth Police Department and our state police. We had volunteers. This morning I was here when we were getting ready to do the search. I had probably right behind me about 100 people that volunteered to come in here this morning. And then I had to tell them the news after we received it. The closure on this is not a good closure, but it is the closure. And that's all I want to do is say is we've had, even the Bureau was assisting us in the background. We've used cyber information to get what we had to do to get this job completed. And I'm very proud of the citizens here. They came forward. And I thank you all for doing what you do. Unfortunately, we can't release but so much information. All right? Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, you just heard from officials there in Middlesex County confirming that the body that they found just 3/4 of a mile away from Terrilynn St. John's home was, in fact, Terrilynn. The suspect that they have in custody at this point, and they are not charging him with anything just yet. His name is Alvin Keyser. Once again, they have classified it as a homicide, but Mr. Keyser has not been charged with that. Not at this point, anyway.
The forensic unit is still on the scene over there in Middlesex County. Weather permitting, they're doing their investigations right now. A lot that they're trying to piece together exactly what happened to Terrilynn St. John.
What's interesting as well, Christina, is saying that they have normally in the last few weeks, social media has been a problematic thing, but this time they said it was very helpful. They caught the chatter of Alvin Keyser on different social mediums, and that allowed them to be able to trace him. They interviewed him last night, and this morning Alvin Keyser reached out to them.
And more details, of course, coming out in this case, and all of it will be updated for you on our website, 13newsnow.com.